Welcome, everyone. I hope people are staying as warm and as safe as possible and in good health as well. This is the February 18th District Energy System meeting. And we have, I will call us to order here. It is 10:02. I know Adrian had distributed the minutes. If everybody got a chance to review those, I would accept a motion to approve.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, our vice chair has moved approval of the minutes. Can I get a second, please?
I'll second. This is Laurel.
Great. I've got a second from Ms. Creech. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? All right. The meeting minutes from our previous meeting are approved. We will go on now to customer sales, and I will pass the mic to Kevin. Or to Dan, whoever's going to lead us through this.
Okay. This is Kevin Jacobs from Thermal Engineering. We'd like to start, but we can't share our screen.
Okay, this is Don Trey with ITS. Who needs the ball?
Dan Coyle.
All right.
Great. We're going to turn that on and open up for our presentation. Here we go.
All right, I can see it. Can everybody else see it?
Yes.
Yes.
This is Don Trey with ITS. Before we begin, anybody who is not speaking, could you please mute your microphone?
Okay, like I said, this is Kevin Jacobs with Thermal Engineering Group, and we'll go through the presentation. Dan and I are here together on his account, and my account is logged in and is doing the audio recording for the meeting. So the first slide will be the customer sales. We see here, obviously in the past 12 months, all the sales are down, considerably down, both in the private and with Metro. The state, not so much. And we see as an aggregate, the sales are down, on the steam, 13%, and on the chill water, 20%, which might be expected with the COVID lockdowns and things. All right, so graphing this as we did for the past few meetings, just to give you a feel, this is the past 5 years, 15 to 19, and then 20 is the dark green line here. You can see that sales are obviously way down, 31% in November, 11% in November, 22% in December. So we're back down. Our sale level is around where the polar vortex was in 2015. It's going to be interesting to see where February is since we're in another polar vortex. Steam sales, likewise, we have the same 5 years with the bold green line being 20, this calendar year 20. Sales were both below the average in November and October, but they're actually 5% above average in December. And one thing I'd like to point out as to our theory as to why the sales are higher in December, is if a building doesn't have people in it and there's no one using the office equipment, assuming that it's an office building, if you kept the thermostat the same level for the heating system, you're going to be using more heat since no one is there. Humans are really good at generating heat, and when they're not there, you're going to use more of the artificial heat during the steam use. So if your building is unoccupied, you might want to reduce your thermostat a little bit so that you can drop down your usage. And that's what we think is happening in December. And in fact, the same thing may have been going on in January, as we'll see in the next quarter, but we already have the January data. So for the COVID response, the last quarter, the board voted to waive late fees and to revisit this issue during this meeting. There have been no new deferrals or no new requests for deferrals, even though that has been an option. There are currently no customers in arrears more than 30 days. CNE continues to limit access to the plant, and everything is being done remotely that can be done remotely. So, Freddie, I turn it back over to you for discussion about what you want to do with the revisiting the issue of the waiving the late fee.
Great, thanks, Jim. And this all seems like good news to me. I mean, with no new customer deferrals or requests, I guess Kevin and maybe also Adrian, I would ask if there are any changes to that. Maybe you can take this on a just meeting by meeting basis. I don't mind having a period between now and our next meeting, just waiting a single quarter to see if this changes. But what I'm seeing here in terms of COVID-19 response is that customers are generally staying in good standing. So I'm happy to open the floor for any discussion on this, but I don't see a need for board action on this at this time. I think if we revisit this and just kind of look at if there are requests that come in between meetings, we can assess that then. I think it was good to have taken action through the winter, but there is a press conference this morning that continues to make it look like between vaccinations and other mitigating factors, community spread in Nashville continues to point toward our hitting something resembling a more normal state by fall. I think taking this on a periodic review basis is appropriate at this point, but I'm open to discussion. So if people don't mind just having a little bit of discussion on this, I'll just open the floor.
Freddie, this is Ann McGarn. I would agree with your statement. I think you're point on, and I support that direction.
Okay, great. Anybody else? Does anybody think we need to take any action today? Otherwise, I'm content to have thermal and Metro Water staff continue to keep board members informed going forward. And I think if we need to revisit this issue, we can.
Freddie, this is Brian. By what you and Ann just said, do you mean that we will no longer defer or waive late fees by no action? Or by no action, do you mean we will maintain the action of applying for the late fees? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I guess, Brian, what I'm sensing is that we may not see any application of late fees. Right. I am, I guess what I would say is we could continue a process of waiving those, but it might just be that we're seeing enough pattern of customer response that we don't even need to do that. I would be personally just as satisfied to say, hey, let's go one more quarter waiving any fees, but I would also look at this and say it doesn't seem like a relief action appears to be potentially as urgent as it was as we came into the winter. That said, if you want to propose something, I'm happy to consider it.
Well, I think your comments make all the sense in the world. Just because I think this week and maybe coming out of whatever this is going to mean for the next few weeks to some customers.
Yeah,
I would be I would make the motion that we extend late fee waivers one more quarter.
Got it. Okay, we've got a motion on the floor to extend the late fee waiver for one more quarter. Would entertain a second.
This is Eric. I'll second that.
All right, great. We've got a motion and a second in discussion. I'll say to Brian's point here, I am sympathetic to this. It's not something I necessarily feel strongly about, but the point about winter weather, particularly for the DES footprint, is a good one. And so I think doing one more quarter of proactive and then maybe looking if we can return to a reactive posture is appropriate. So,
Freddie, if I may, I would add, I agree that it appears that there's not an enormous need for us to take this action. I think it's just in anticipation of the unknown. And
yep.
Not that Nashville has had a number of unknowns this past 12 months to go along with everything. I think it's just let's be mindful of the things that are happening. Address it, take a look at it one more quarter, and if this trend of all our customers continuing to pay on time and having seemingly no significant issues, we can move to general business practices after the next quarter. That's where I'm coming from on this. So
no, I appreciate that, and I think especially if we take into account the combined impact of the bombing as well as weather that is having a prolonged effect on the area, I think that's totally appropriate. Any other discussion on this motion? All right, hearing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor of the DES Advisory Board recommending a waiver of late fees for one more quarter, please say aye.
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 Do you not have to take a roll call vote?
We might have to do that. I think you're right, because we are virtual. Appreciate that, Adrian. Let's come back and do that. Well, so here's the deal. The way we had done it in Metro Council is if the vote is effectively consensus, the recording secretary can basically just record the names of those present and voting. So let me do this. If we can go through this and confirm that there are no nays or abstentions, then Adrian, I believe we are allowed to have you just confirm with everybody that is present and voting that they are in fact affirmative, and we can record it that way. Is that satisfactory to everybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, hearing no opposition to that. So we've got our ayes in. Any noes? Any abstentions? Okay, in which case, Adrian, I guess it is probably worthwhile to just make sure we've got a roster of who is present and voting.
Yes, we're recording, and I'll make sure that I capture the roster that's on here.
Okay, great. All right, in which case, thank you, everyone. We have agreed to waive late fees for one more quarter. Kevin, thanks for that pause and giving us a chance to discuss and take action there, and I will return to you.
No problem. For the next few slides, we'll be discussing the Constellation's performance. As you know, beginning with this fiscal year, they began the new guaranteed value, so you see the step in many of these. So for the steam electric conversion, the blue is the guaranteed, with this section after July being the new guarantees, and the red is the actual. It is not unusual to have a peak like this on the steam electric conversion during the summer. And as you see, we get down into December, they're back to kind of a typical winter format. For the steam plant efficiency, the guaranteed values have changed. We see a big change here in July. The equation for the actuals have not. So their actuals have been going over The guaranteed value for several of these months, as you see here, and also in January, and it is at a higher value than it has been in the past. There have been some mechanical issues at the plant that were resolved in December, but we're still looking at that to see where we're going in the future months. The water conversion, for the steam water conversion, the guarantee in the actual equations did not change in July, so they've continued this kind of a very typical pattern where they're very close and following each other. For the chilled water electric conversion, we see the guarantee did change beginning in July to a new value, and the actuals have actually improved over historic values. As you see this curve coming back down, which is good. The lower the value, the better. The chilled water conversion is also a new equation beginning in July. And the actuals went over a little bit, but they've been coming back down. And kind of expect this to come back down to a normal value, which they have in January is also below the guarantee. And we might expect that to continue down. So for the water treatment, everything has been good. There continues to not be any biologicals found in the chilled water. There has been some hardness in the condensate return, and the condensate was dumped for part of the quarter. So the amount of condensate on average is down from about 75% to about 65%, kind of on average for the second quarter. That is usually, well, we had the issue with the repairing the condensate leak, or one of the condensate leaks last fall. And what we believe happened is when the pipe was exposed, there was some gravel got in the condensate line on Dedrick. That was on Dedrick. On Dedrick, and the gravel stayed in there, and that's a source of hardness. Although the contractor did make a sincere effort at cleaning all that out, some of that may have moved somewhere beyond his reach or beyond he could tell where it was there. The pipe was reassembled, so the gravel stayed in it as a source of condensate, as a source of hardness, which would cause the condensate to be dumped. Constellation does test that, and it was only a portion of the system where they were dumping it because of that hardness.
That's been corrected and repaired, and we're back at that line is back in service now.
Right, and the hardness is that source of hardness is largely gone away, and the condensate return is coming back to normal. For the EGF walkthrough, remember last quarter we started doing little pluses on the yellow. I would expect that the equipment maintenance on the EGF to come back to green in the next quarter. Constellation is working on the buildings and grounds to get this back up to green. And once again, I kind of expect that to be back to normal in May.
Okay, I don't know that John's going to be able to join us as soon as he's John. You unmute? Okay, maybe not. I'll take this one. John Belcher.
Oh, I was gonna say, Dan, we can hear you. It's just it's a little muffled. You guys,
Yeah,
you need to get closer to
Thermal's
the mic.
audio is not high quality, I would say.
All right, I'll try to get a little closer. Is that any better?
Not really.
Yes,
Not for
but we
me.
can't hear you.
Okay, how about now? All right, I'll just hold the microphone then. So, anyway, John usually does the walkthroughs. He's not able to join us today. As you can see, we've got yellow marks on the tunnels and vaults, and those have pluses on them. They're all making some progress. There were a few areas that were, as part of the renewal of the contract, that required them to take some action that hadn't been dealt with in a while. That's almost completely resolved now. We have one last manhole that we were asking to delay on until we get some other changes. So we're pretty much up to speed. There's a few other locations that there continue to be problems, and that's why it's a yellow, but the plus indicates that they're making improvements. We continue to do maintenance or replacement of metal and sealing up the vaults. We have yellow marks there. We think hopefully this spring, we're anticipating that we'll change some of these water infiltration and insulation repairs to green or at least a yellow plus. We're making progress on those as well. And then as you can see at the bottom, the safety, Conservation's done a good job of keeping everything in good, safe conditions, even though we've got some metal corrosion problems and some insulation problems. The safety has always been the top priority.
Hey, Dan, it's Laurel. I'm still having a hard time hearing you. I don't know if it would be better if you called in using a call-in number, if that's even a possibility. And then your notification for your emails is beeping if you want to turn that off.
Okay. Yeah. Well, okay. Let's switch. Maybe go to the audio and switch to the go to the audio so microphone more quick turn off.
Okay, we've dialed in. Is that any better?
Yes. Thank you.
That is much, much better. Thank you.
Much better.
Okay, back up a slide. Is there anything you want me to go over on this slide?
Nothing
Okay, we'll
specific. It's definitely, you know, there's a lot of yellow on the board, but you know, I think we've generally understood what causes most of that. Unless there's any new information about the current quarter, I'm okay continuing.
Okay, and as I said, I believe we're going to see some yellow plus or maybe greens next quarter as some of these projects get completed and the status changes a bit.
All right, for the next few slides, we'll discuss the natural gas purchasing. For the first 6 months of the year, our steam send-out is slightly above the budget. This is without contingency, mind you. All these numbers, the fuel use is about this, is a little bit below. The fuel efficiency is a little bit below. The gas cost is considerably below because we're paying a much lower unit cost.
Higher.
No, we're paying.
Sorry, you're right.
Yeah, we're paying a much lower unit cost for the first 6 months. For this graph, we are doing some hedging. There's been some fluctuation in the market, and the gas prices began to go up. So we started a hedging program. So as you see here, the red line is the pure market price for the futures here, and the blue line, which you can't hardly see, but it is there, it is hidden beneath the green, and the green is the budget. So we're expected in these few months coming out here that we'll actually be paying very close to the budget, and this is the budget without contingency. With contingency, the gas price is near $4. So we have, even for the first 6 months of the year, we have about, we're about $300,000, $400,000 below budget. All right, so for the cost to date, we see most of these categories, they're about 50% here. One of the ones that will stand out to you, and I'll point it out, is the water.
the water usage is high so far this year, and we have found and repaired 4 different condensate leaks in the system for the fiscal year. And during that time, there was we're not getting the condensate return back, so we're having to make up more water to the steam system. And there's also been periods where we've had to dump the condensate because of the hardness, as I mentioned before. There has been only 1 chill water leak that was repaired, but it was significant. But there were the first 4 months of the year, the usage began to go up in that, and then it was fixed, and we'll see that graph later. But the chill water leak the makeup has increased a little bit over what it was the last quarter, but it's still not anywhere near the historic values. So for the 21 budget, as we've seen a few times, the Metro funding amount, in general, the expenses and revenues are projected to be lower than in FY20, and the Metro funding amount was significantly reduced. For the marketing, excuse me, we have had some communications with the people at the Peabody Union, with the architect and the engineers, and we're expecting to have a meeting with them in the next few weeks. That project is picked back up again. This is the site that is directly east of the plant that we share the property line with. We have no new information on the First and KVB sites. The last we'd heard is that project is on hold, and we'll try and get some more information on that one. These other 2, likewise, they seem to be on hold. Those were really early conversations that we had with the potential customer. The Union Street Hotel, we have spoke with them again during the quarter, and they are still waiting on the financing. They have included service from DES for the chill water in their current design. So for the capital expenditures for the fiscal year, we've spent about $650,000. Most of these are in, all this is basically in the distribution system and making those repairs. Some of the invoices for the condensate leaks, we haven't actually received yet, so we expect some of that to get bumped up considerably. There are several ongoing projects that Dan will talk about here shortly. But we do have funds available for ongoing projects.
Okay, these are the capital projects that are continuing. We're continuing the Broadway tunnel damage lawsuit. In fact, next week we've got some depositions that will be, there'll be 3 of us going to a deposition. We're expecting that hoping that's going to be positive. We feel pretty good about the conditions that we're representing. So hope that's going to help refund some of the expenses that Metro had to pay to make the repairs. The options review, that involves some anticipation of future projects. We've provided Metro Water with some plans for future projects. We're waiting to hear back from them. We're in the budget season, and that's kind of taken a back seat. So maybe by next quarter, we'll have some input on that. There's these hotel projects, as Kevin mentioned, where the Lot K may be moving forward, but we don't expect any capital on those until down the road when contracts are actually signed and construction has to begin. So I don't anticipate that for at least 6 months. These projects are all in the distribution system, making repairs, I mentioned earlier, to try and get some of those yellow marks to green. These are all projects that are underway at the current time. The tunnel projects, a couple of those were delayed because of the Christmas blast. They're all back in operation now. We're trying to wrap up those projects and expect to have those completed Next quarter, we should have all those complete, and we'll give you a report on those at that time. Manhole 4 concept return. That project was we found a better way to do that through some investigations, and so that's been handled as an R&I project, I believe. I think so. And so the cost to do that was greatly reduced by our alternate repair. The chill water leak is, as Kevin mentioned, we found a leak that was substantial. That's been repaired. The leakage rate is substantially reduced. It hasn't gone to zero, but it's in very much below our normal leakage rate. We're going to keep our eyes out for leaks, but we think we've got the majority of them covered at this point. The new one that's on this is this manhole B10 expansion joint replacement. This is right in front of the Music City Center, and we expect to start that in a few weeks. We found that
Dan, your audio cut out. Kevin, Dan, I don't know if you can hear, but we have lost Thermal's audio. I'm assuming it's gone for everybody and not just me.
Yes, it's missing.
Yes.
Dan, we've still got your visuals, but we do not have any audio coming from Thermal. Adrian, do you happen to have phone contact with Thermal?
Yes, I just texted them to let them know that, I see
Okay.
Dan's microphone working again.
There
Okay.
we go.
yeah, we're
Okay.
back on.
Here you guys now,
Anyway, I
thanks.
gave you a really good report on all these projects. So do you want to just continue?
We heard it up to a point.
Yeah, do you know where it left off?
Dan, you were talking about DES 182, the expansion joint. You had just started to explain what was going on with that project.
Okay, that we found some damage, found an expansion joint that was malfunctioned in that manhole right in front of the convention center. We've come up with a design to repair it. We've got the parts on hand. We're going to coordinate with the MCC for when we can do a shutdown. It's probably going to take 2, maybe 3 days without steam. So obviously we're not going to do it this week. So we're going to meet with them probably next week after we're going to meet with a contractor next week, get his time frame for replacements, and then go meet with them to schedule a shutdown. So that'll probably occur middle March, I'm guessing. It's something that needs to be fixed, but it's okay to keep operation. We're keeping an eye on it, and if anything changes, may have to take action right away. But we think we're going to make it through to March when we can do this at a more convenient time for everybody. The last one is Hermitage Hotel, and we gave them some information because they want to make some modifications in their building. I don't think it's going to take any modifications on our part. At least that's the initial conversations with the contractor that's doing these modifications. So we're hopeful that they'll do all the modifications behind their wall. We won't have to spend any money or any time, and but we're just keeping on the books for now to keep up with it. So let's see. Yeah, these are projects that have been identified, and we're working with Metro to get approval at the appropriate time. We prioritize them, and they'll get done as the funds become available and the need arises, and they're not being actively pursued at this moment. And these projects have been completed and have been closed, and we'll take them off the list for next meeting.
Okay, so for the chill water EDS makeup, we have here the leak was found in October and repaired. Prior to that, we had gotten up to about 80,000 gallons a day. This graph on the left is showing the average daily makeup in gallons per minute, so you have a better feel. So it had gotten up to on average of 55 gallons a minute. Then it went down to almost zero, being zero for several days, which was very suspicious to all of us. And so Constellation began some investigation to make sure that the instrumentation was telling us the right thing. And one of the conclusions that we drew was that there, at least for a period, there may have been a customer who has city water connected to the chill water system that was making up some of this water for us. There were some maintenance at the plant that caused the makeup to go up a little bit during the quarter in here, but this is all coming back down as we see, and we're down to about 10,000 gallons a day, which sounds like a lot, but it's not really for the size of our and volume of the system that we have. So it's running about 7 gallons a minute on average right now, and this goes to last week.
And Kevin, we think this is actually an accurate reflection of kind of a steady state after the repair of that leak, and kind of revisiting the instrumentation and looking at where customer activity is. Yes,
there very well may be another leak somewhere, and that may be part of that 10,000. As I said before, I don't think we'll ever get it down to zero, right? But it will be low. When DES first came on in 2003 and 2004, obviously there's a new plant, but the distribution system was from the 70s. But for a few months during that period, the makeup was around 5 gallons a minute, and so that's kind of our goal, if you will, somewhere in that neighborhood. But and we are running at 7.
Yeah, well, it's obviously much better than 50.
Yeah. Right. Okay, well, that's all we have for today.
All right, we are at item 11, other board member items. For my part, I do not have any new ones. I know our vice chair had to drop just a few minutes ago. Do any other board members have items for the agenda this morning?
This is Jim. I was wondering if there was any impact on the system from Christmas Day bombing.
That's a great question. Thanks, Jim.
No, not really.
We had we've done several inspections. We do have some facilities in First and in Broadway and on Church and on 4th. So we're kind of surrounded the area. We had several inspections done. We found some minor, like some in the tunnel, some minor, minor stones, that were on the floor that may have gotten shaken loose, or they could have been there for a while. No noticeable damage, and no impact on our system from its operating standpoint. The plant also felt the shock, and the plant was checked, and nothing in the plant was noticeably damaged by it, and the plant continued operating through the whole period. So luckily, there's nothing that damaged our system as far as we can tell.
Great. Dan, thank you for the update. Jim, that's a very good and important question, and glad to hear that the impact is minimal to marginal, if there is any. So that's good news.
Hey, Freddie, I have a question.
Oh, yep, go ahead.
This is Eric. Hey, what's going on with natural gas right now? Have we been restricted any at all? And is what's going on in Texas, has that, other than I'm sure the price is going to go up, has that initiated any restrictions?
Another good question. Thanks, Eric. Turn that over to Thermal.
Yes, we've not had any restrictions by the gas company. In the past, that if we got down into the upper teens, we had been cut off and we had to rely on our propane as backup. A few years ago, the gas company made some improvements in their infrastructure, and that has helped a great deal. And so we've gone through these rather cold nights and not been notified by the gas company of a curtailment. So things are running well at the plant. We have a full tank of propane, and we have had purchased some backup, but so far we've not had to use it and don't anticipate that happening this week. And I think next week is supposed to warm up. So I'm not saying we're out of the woods yet, but we've gotten through this cold snap, it looks like, successfully.
And I guess the follow-up there, Dan, would be we do not anticipate any service restrictions or capacity constraints on the system as a whole. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that's correct. No impact on gas supply, no negative impact with gas supply. And what's going on in Texas, other than we're experiencing the cold like they are, but that has not had any impact on our electric service or our gas service, and our steam service and chill water service has been unaffected to the customers.
Great, thanks. Eric, did you have a follow-up there?
No, I was just saying that's really good news. That I was concerned that our natural gas, a lot of it comes from Texas, but that's a good sign.
Yeah, we did some hedging last fall, December or so. So we've pretty much got this $3 and something gas locked in for February. We did that for January, February, and March. So I have heard stories of spot market being $100 a million BTU, but we're still paying around $3.
Very good.
Hey, Dan, I would say that in terms of resiliency, that's probably a good marketing piece, that even though we went under freezing for many, many days, that DES was able to continue providing services.
Yes, that's a good point. May put a little article on our website to tout that, but I think I want to wait a few weeks.
Okay,
Yeah,
sounds good.
That's probably a fair point. Let's get through the entirety of the cold snap. But Laurel, I like where your mind is on that.
Yeah, we have on the website, the marketing website, it shows the reliability is up in the 99.9 something percentage. So DES is very high reliability. We've had some outages. Those are all scheduled and planned and coordinated with our customers, but I don't know when we've had a forced outage.
An unscheduled outage?
Yeah. We've had a couple of incidents where we had boiler trip and the pressure drooped a bit, but that at the customer end, they typically don't use the 150 pounds anyway, and we're probably unaware of any of those kinds of minor glitches. So thank you for noticing that.
All right. Other board member items, questions, comments? All right. Hearing none, I would just note, encourage folks to take a look at that advisory board meeting schedule in front of us. We will see where we are in terms of executive orders and whether or not we will be remote or in person. I'm sure Adrian will keep us all advised of that. And I will accept a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn. This is Laurel Creech.
All right. Chair will second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Adrian, do you have everything you need from the board?
Trying to unmute everything. No, I I think this is fine, and thank you all very much. Appreciate you all confirming that today would work for you. I just didn't want to get in the way of if anybody had some emergency response duties. I didn't want us to get in the way of that. So thank you all very much, and I hope you'll all continue to be safe through this this storm this week.
No, thank you, and appreciate your accommodating board member schedules. I think it's as much as we can stay on track and conduct normal business, I think is important. Thermal, thank you for all the information, and we will see everybody in May. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.